I've always believed in flying the American flag, not just on the 4th of July or Memorial Day, but every day. My father was a Marine, my grandfather fought in World War II, and I served myself in the National Guard. That flag wasn't just a piece of fabric to me. It was family, sacrifice, and pride in something bigger than myself. So when I moved into my new home in Liberty Hills, a freshly built development in the outskirts of Charleston, South Carolina, the first thing I did, before unpacking a single box, was install a flagpole in my front yard and raise Old Glory high. The first week, nobody said anything. A few neighbors even gave me a thumbs up as they drove by. But then came the letter. It was printed on cheap white paper with the HOA letterhead in the corner. It read, in clipped, emotionless type, "Dear Mr. Callahan, you are in violation of the Liberty Hills Homeowners Association Aesthetic Guidelines, specifically Section 4.7, Unauthorized Flagpoles and Displays. You are hereby instructed to remove the flagpole and all related installations within 7 days or face escalating fines of $100 per day. Sincerely, Liberty Hills, HOA Compliance Committee." I stared at the letter for a full minute before laughing. Surely this had to be a mistake. I mean, banning the American flag in a neighborhood called Liberty Hills? You'd think it was satire if the fine print weren't so damn serious. I called the number listed on the letter and got patched through to a woman named Karen. Yes, her actual name. She sounded bored, like this wasn't her first rodeo. "Mr. Callahan, the rules are clearly stated in your HOA packet," she said, barely stifling a yawn. "Flagpoles are prohibited unless mounted on the structure itself. Freestanding flagpoles are considered visual nuisances." "A nuisance?" I repeated, stunned. "It's an American flag, not a neon casino sign." Karen didn't flinch. "The board voted on the policy last year. You agreed to it when you bought the house." That's when it clicked. I remembered scanning the HOA documents when I closed on the place, but they were 83 pages long and filled with legal jargon. I must have missed that clause. Still, I couldn't believe it. Was this even legal? I reached out to a lawyer friend of mine, Brent Holloway, who specialized in property law. He skimmed the HOA bylaws, shook his head, and said, "Well, they can't stop you from flying a U.S. flag. Federal law protects that. But they can go after how you display it if it violates agreed-upon rules." "So what now?" I asked. Brent grinned. "Now? You dig in your heels." Brent and I didn't waste time. He drafted a legal response citing the Freedom to Display the American Flag Act of 2005, which prohibits HOAs from restricting homeowners from displaying the U.S. flag on their property, provided it's done in a respectful manner. We attached a high-res photo of my setup, flagpole properly installed, no damage to landscaping, no obstructions to sightlines or traffic. In other words, completely reasonable. We sent the letter via certified mail. But Karen and her HOA compliance cronies weren't backing down. A week later, a second letter arrived, this one more aggressive in tone. "Your flagpole continues to violate HOA guidelines and must be removed. The federal statute you referenced does not override private contractual agreements with homeowners associations. Further non-compliance will result in legal action." Legal action for flying the flag? That did it. Instead of backing down, I posted a copy of both letters on my Facebook page, along with a photo of my house, the flag proudly waving in the breeze, and a short caption, "My HOA wants me to take this down. Should I?" It took less than 24 hours for the post to go viral. Local news picked it up, then regional, then national. Veterans groups started calling. A retired Navy SEAL offered to pay my legal fees. Fox News wanted an interview. I declined most of the media attention. I wasn't looking to become a celebrity. I just wanted the right to fly my flag in peace. But I did agree to talk to a local paper. The headline the next day read, "Patriot versus HOA, the battle over the American flag." And that's when the real pressure started. The Liberty Hills HOA found itself at the center of a PR firestorm. Angry emails poured in. Neighbors started organizing. Some homeowners who had previously kept quiet began posting their own stories about arbitrary fines, board favoritism, even intimidation. One neighbor said the HOA fined her $250 for having wind chimes on her porch. Another got cited for planting non-approved flowers. It wasn't just about the flag anymore. It was about control. So I printed up 200 flyers and started walking the neighborhood. On each flyer, I listed the abuses we'd uncovered and included a call to action. Enough is enough. Let's reclaim Liberty Hills. Join us Thursday night at the Park Pavilion for a special meeting. Together, we can push back. I expected maybe a dozen people. Over 100 showed up. They brought lawn chairs, flashlights, and fury. We passed around a petition to recall the HOA board and elect a new one. By the end of the night, 87 homeowners had signed. We needed just 90 total to trigger a vote. Karen tried to interfere. She even called the cops, claiming we were disturbing the peace. The officer showed up, took one look at the flag I draped over the pavilion table, and said, "You folks carry on." By the next morning, we had 104 signatures. The Liberty Hills HOA board was officially on notice. 2 weeks after our petition passed the required threshold, the recall hearing was scheduled. Karen tried to stall it, of course. First, she claimed several signatures were invalid because the names weren't in cursive. Then she alleged that homeowners had been coerced into signing. When those tactics failed, she sent out an emergency HOA bulletin trying to spin the narrative. A small but loud group is attempting a hostile takeover of our neighborhood leadership. This is not about a flag. It's about destroying the order and beauty we've all worked so hard to preserve. Nice try, Karen. But the homeowners weren't buying it. The night of the recall hearing, the community center was packed wall to wall. Folks brought copies of the flag statute, screenshots of HOA overreach, and photographs of infractions that had been selectively enforced. Brent stood beside me in a sharp navy blue suit. I could see Karen glaring from across the room, surrounded by a few loyalists, most of whom looked deeply uncomfortable. Her husband, Tom, kept checking his watch like he had somewhere else to be. Maybe anywhere else. When the vote was called, the room held its breath. Out of 162 eligible voters, 124 voted to recall the entire board. A landslide. Karen turned pale. She stood up and shouted something about illegal process and lawsuits, but no one was listening anymore. The HOA leadership was officially dissolved pending re-election, and an interim committee, elected right there on the spot, was formed to manage the transition. I was asked to join. I declined politely. I wasn't looking to run Liberty Hills. I just wanted it to stop running us. But Karen wasn't done. Within days, she filed a civil lawsuit against me, claiming harassment, incitement, and emotional distress. She even demanded punitive damages, $75,000. Brent laughed so hard I thought he might fall off his chair. We filed a motion to dismiss and countersued for defamation and abuse of legal process. As part of discovery, Brent subpoenaed HOA records, emails, minutes, even private group chats. That's when we found the goldmine. Karen had been orchestrating targeted enforcement campaigns against certain neighbors. One email actually said, "Don't find the Johnsons yet, they donated to the Christmas fund. Go after Lot 41 instead, he's a loudmouth." Guess who Lot 41 was? Me. There were dozens of emails like that, targeting veterans, young families, even retirees, all based on who Karen liked or didn't. Some board members had pushed back, but the ones who didn't? Complicit. Brent filed an amended complaint with all the evidence attached. The case never made it to trial. Karen settled out of court, agreeing to a non-disclosure agreement, a formal apology, and, ironically, a $75,000 payout to cover legal costs and emotional damages. The irony? She cut the check on Flag Day. With Karen gone and the lawsuit behind me, Liberty Hills began to breathe again. The first thing the interim committee did was reverse every flag-related violation. Every homeowner fined for flying Old Glory had their record cleared and their money refunded. Veterans received handwritten apologies. Several houses even hoisted larger flags in defiance. One guy installed a 25-foot pole in his front yard, complete with solar lighting and a stone base. The flag waved proud, day and night. For the first time in years, Liberty Hills felt like, well, liberty. The changes didn't stop there. The new leadership voted to review the entire HOA charter. Out went the nonsense about approved house colors, mandatory grass types, and the restriction on backyard vegetable gardens. Residents were encouraged to attend open meetings, and actual democratic voting replaced backdoor decisions. People who had once stayed quiet, fearful of retribution, started speaking up. One woman stood up in a meeting and said, "For years, I thought I was crazy. I thought I was the only one who hated how we were treated, but watching you stand up, fight back, it gave me courage. Thank you. That meant more to me than any lawsuit victory. I turned down a nomination to join the new board. I didn't want power. I wanted peace. I wanted to enjoy my property without worrying about some clipboard warrior measuring my mailbox height. Instead, I volunteered for the Community Beautification Project. Not some HOA-mandated nonsense, real improvements. A community garden, a free library box, and a new playground in the open lot that used to be Karen's pet wildflower reserve, which was just an unmaintained patch of weeds she refused to let kids play near. And the flag? Still flying, bigger than ever. But this time, it wasn't just mine. The whole neighborhood joined in. On the 4th of July, we organized a neighborhood-wide celebration. Flags lined every yard. People grilled, played music, and laughed in a way I hadn't seen in years. An elderly Navy vet down the block gave a short speech about what the flag meant to him, and not a dry eye was left in the crowd. That evening, as fireworks burst above us, I looked around and saw something truly special. Not just freedom from an oppressive HOA, but a community that had rediscovered its voice, its spirit, its dignity. We weren't just neighbors anymore, we were allies. And Karen? Last I heard, she moved 2 towns over and tried to join another HOA board. It didn't go well. Word about her antics had traveled fast. The internet never forgets. As for me, I sit on my porch every morning with a cup of coffee, watching the flag flutter in the breeze. It's more than fabric. It's a reminder that sometimes standing up means everything. To anyone facing bullies in suits, whether they wear a badge, carry a clipboard, or sit on a self-important board, remember this. You don't need to start a war. Just stand your ground. Speak truth. And never ever let anyone tell you that honoring your freedom is a violation. Because the only real violation is letting someone else take that freedom away. News of what happened in Liberty Hills didn't stay local. A neighbor's son, a journalism student from a nearby college, had documented the entire ordeal, from the initial flag confrontation to the final vote disbanding the old HOA leadership. He posted the story on Reddit and Twitter, and it exploded. Within days, conservative, veteran, homeowner, and civil rights groups had picked it up. My inbox flooded. I was invited to speak on a regional talk radio station. A local veterans group wanted to give me a plaque. One national homeowners' rights group even asked if I'd be interested in consulting. I never expected that standing up to a petty HOA rule would go viral. But apparently, a lot of people out there had been waiting for someone to draw the line. More letters arrived, some handwritten, some emailed. One came from a man in Texas who had been fined $300 by his HOA for flying both the American flag and a Marine Corps flag. He wrote, "I thought I was alone. You proved I'm not. I showed your story to our HOA board and they backed off." That's when it hit me. This wasn't just about one flag or one HOA. It was about something bigger. The small freedoms that, when taken for granted or stripped away, chip at the core of who we are. With Brent's help, we compiled a short public guide, How to Legally Fight Back Against HOA Overreach. It included state-specific information, downloadable templates for cease and desist letters, and references to federal laws protecting veterans' right to display the flag. We uploaded it online for free. Over the next few weeks, the downloads crossed 100,000. The movement was real. Meanwhile, Liberty Hills continued to evolve. Without the old HOA's oppressive grip, a natural sense of pride emerged. Neighbors took care of their homes, not because they feared fines, but because they cared. Front porches were decorated uniquely, some patriotic, some artistic, some humorous. Diversity flourished. The new board, now made up of people who understood community service, kept things minimal and transparent. They handled genuine concerns, like dangerous sidewalks or stormwater drainage, but stayed out of people's flower beds and flagpoles. For once, governance felt like support, not surveillance. But not everything was perfect. 2 months later, I got a certified letter in the mail. It was from a law firm representing a regional HOA association. They weren't happy. Turns out Karen had connections beyond our community. She'd reached out to the Georgia State Homeowners Alliance, an umbrella group that often backed aggressive HOA enforcement, and tried to smear me. The letter alleged I had violated community governance protocols, incited rebellion, and potentially influenced residents to engage in non-compliant acts. It ended with a veiled threat: cease and desist any public actions that undermine HOA authority or face further legal remedies. I laughed. Then I handed it straight to Brent. He crafted a fiery response. Not only did he reject every accusation, he reminded them of the federal and state-level protections for patriotic displays, the First Amendment implications of threatening public speech, and the defamation risk they now faced for siding with a disgraced former board president. We never heard back. Spring rolled into summer, and Liberty Hills came alive in ways I'd never seen before. Families had bonfires on weekends, kids raced up and down sidewalks on scooters, and neighbors actually talked to each other without fear of being tattled on to the HOA board. It wasn't perfect. No community ever is, but it was free, the way a neighborhood should be. And the flag? It never came down. Every morning I raised it, and every evening I took it down with pride. Some days I'd stand at the edge of my lawn, hand on heart, just watching it flutter against the sky. Not out of showmanship, but because of what it had come to represent, not just to me, but to everyone who had followed this journey. Soon I wasn't the only one. One by one, more flags went up across Liberty Hills. First 5, then 10, then nearly every house had one. It became a quiet protest against authoritarianism, a symbol of unity that didn't need words. No one told anyone to do it. It just happened. We even had our first community gathering on the 4th of July, not organized by a board, not sanctioned by a committee, just something we all pitched in to create. Potlucks lined the sidewalks, fireworks lit the night sky, and veterans were honored without politics. Brent grilled burgers, my wife made her famous peach cobbler, and someone even brought a band that played a mashup of country, rock, and old-school soul. I stood near the gazebo we'd refurbished together and felt something I hadn't in a long time: peace. Karen, meanwhile, had vanished from Liberty Hills. Word was, after the investigation and media blowback, she sold her house and moved to another gated community 2 counties away. I never saw her again. But from time to time, I'd get whispers from online forums. Isn't that the same Karen who tried to ban the flag? Apparently, her reputation followed her. Brent and I kept in touch, and together we helped launch a nonprofit called Homeowners for Freedom. Its goal was to educate and support Americans in reclaiming control from abusive HOAs. We offered free legal templates, webinars, and even state-level advocacy. Our message was simple: your property, your rights, your voice. Within the first year, over 10,000 homeowners joined. Local news did a follow-up story on our neighborhood. This time, the headline read, "Flag Fight Turns into Movement. One Man's Stand Inspires National Change." They interviewed neighbors, veterans, single moms, even a retired judge who said she'd once ruled against homeowners but now realized how out of control HOAs had become. That felt like justice in a different form, not with bulldozers or lawsuits, but with hearts and minds. But the moment that stuck with me most came on a quiet evening in early September. I was closing up the garage when a young boy from down the street rode up on his bike. He stopped at my driveway, panting slightly. "Hey, Mr. Carter?" "Yeah, buddy?" He pointed to the flagpole. "My dad said you're the reason I get to fly my flag now. I just wanted to say thanks." I nodded, my throat catching. "You keep flying it high," I said. "It stands for you too." He grinned and pedaled off. And that's what this was all about. Not revenge, not pride, not even winning a court battle. It was about freedom. The kind that starts small, in a yard, on a porch, with a pole and a flag, and grows into something that can't be regulated, voted away, or buried in paperwork. It's the freedom to live, to speak, to stand tall. It's the kind of freedom that should never need permission. And as long as there's a place to plant a flag, it'll wave, proud and unbothered, just like we are now.